Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial on creating Tetris within Minecraft in that series. So I think this is video number 17 or 18 actually. So in this tutorial we're going to actually start putting together a game loop from scratch. And we're going to put together that game loop using all the awesome building blocks we've created and tested, like draw block, move is clear, rotate is clear, all that stuff. And it'll even include controls. And I think you guys are going to be pleased with how easy it is to put that together given everything that we've coded so far. Okay, so let's jump into it. A couple of things that I want you to do before we get into the game loop is the get placed material function. It's pretty much a mirror image of the get material function. So all you need to do is highlight your get material function that you've already built and hold Control or Command if you're on Mac and push C. So that copies the block. Or you can right-click the block and click duplicate. So you can copy and paste it, and then here, get rid of that. You can rename this to get placed material, and then switch out all the actual materials for what's on the left here. So you see all these different materials that you have on the that correspond to the placed material of the block type, and that's going to be used in our place block function. So let's take a look at that now. Okay, here is the placed block or place block function, and this is also a mirror image of another function, which is the draw block function. The only difference between the two is that in the place block function, instead of the get material function that we used in the draw block, we're using the get placed material function. So it does exactly the same stuff as the draw block, except it draws using the placed state material for a corresponding block. Okay, so you can do the same thing that you did with that get place function. You can just copy and paste the draw block and then rename it to place block and switch out the get material for the get placed material function in the function pane here. Alright, cool. So once you guys get that working, I would say you don't even really have to test it because we've already tested out the draw block and the get material functions. We'll go ahead and start the game loop. Okay, so here is our main test function, and a few lines that you'll want to change out are the couple of lines that we had in the last tutorial for testing the moving the block around with the controls. You'll want to replace with these these 4 lines of code. So we're setting a global variable called initial position to 22, and then here we're moving our cursor drone that we set here forward to the initial position and up 18. And I'll explain why we want the initial position in a little while, but we move forward initial position and then up distance 18. Then we need to set the block spawn point, setting another global variable here called block spawn point to cursor drone's location. Okay, and this is so that once we place a block, we can actually move our cursor drone back to that block spawn point, because as our game progresses, the cursor drone is literally moving down as the game loop ticks, and then once in our game loop the block can't move down anymore, we're going to reset the cursor drone to the block spawn point so we can spawn the next block. Cool, so let's go ahead and start creating that game loop. We'll start with a function. We'll call it game loop test, and inside this function, what are we going to do? We're going to say, is it okay if we move down? So we need to we're going to ask that question. So anytime we're asking a question like that, a yes or no question, we need an if block. And our function move is clear should be down. Here it is. So we're going to say if the move is clear, move the block. And we'll plug in the actual variables in a second, but for now we'll just focus on the high level stuff. So if move is clear, do move block, else we're going to use that function that we just wrote. We're going to place the block, and then we're going to set the cursor drone, so we'll just drag that out there now. Here's the place block. Okay, so the cursor drone, or the set cursor drone, all this function does is it uses this line right here, move. So all it does is it moves cursor drone to block spawn point. That's literally all this function set cursor drone does. It has one line of code and it does that. It just moves the cursor drone to block spawn point, which contains this original location of the cursor drone. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug in these actual variables now. So this needs to be cursor drone. This needs to be the down direction. It needs to be the current block type and the current block orientation. And we're going to actually go ahead and just copy these. Okay. So one other problem that I see here is that we want to also want to reset the block so that it's a different block each time, which is a much simpler task than you might imagine. All it involves is resetting the current block type to a random integer from 0 to 6. Okay, and what this actually does is it sets the current block to a random block, basically. Because remember, our blocks are enums, so they're represented as numbers 0 through 6. So if we get a random integer from 0 to 6, then a random integer from 0 to 6, then we're going to get a random block, because it just, those block types correspond to these integers. Alright, so I'm excited to test this out. Let's see how this works. Oh, one other thing we need to do. Almost forgot. Kind of important. We need to actually implement the game loop within our main function. So instead of the on block break, we're going to do game loop test every, let's get this number. I like to reuse what I already have on the screen. Every 1000 milliseconds, which is a second. Alright, so we have everything that we had before, so this should work with controls as well as the game loop. Let's go ahead and launch Minecraft. Okay, so here we are in our game world, and the moment of truth. Let's go ahead and test out what we have so far and see if this game loop works. Awesome, so we have our block, it's moving downward every second or so. We can still rotate. Looks like rotate's working correctly. You can still move around. And the big test is, will it place the block? Cool. Place the block, change the material, spawned a new block. So it looks like everything is going correctly here, which is really cool. Let's try placing that. Cool, a J and an L, they go so well together. Okay, so looks like that works correctly. And actually, this is a good time to show you one of the known bugs of the program. So check this out. If I face left for a second, see what happens? The perspective of this block actually changes when you change perspectives. So the block actually placed as this perspective as if I was looking to the left, and I actually know the cause of it. And one of the challenges once we finish this is to see if you can figure out why. And I guess I'll do one more follow-up video at the end of it to tell you why, and you can leave it up to you to fix it. It's not a huge deal, since, you know, theoretically the entire time you're playing the game, you're facing forward, you're looking at the game board, so the game's still playable, but it's it still would be nice, a nice polish to put on the game for when we finish it. But first things first, we're not there yet. We still have to do the algorithm that a checks the for row clears and actually clears the rows and moves the rest of the blocks down, which is a lot harder of a task than it seems. I kind of underestimated it when I first was thinking about it, and it's actually a very tough problem, tough algorithm. Okay, so we'll cover that, and we'll cover that next time. We'll start to cover it next time. There's still going to be a few more videos, but we'll start covering it next time. And between now and then, what I'd like you guys to do is actually write the code to build the background. So write the code to build that like obsidian nice background that has the outline of torches, so that it makes playing the game pretty easy. And I think you guys can handle that, just because I mean, it's only drone manipulation and placing different kinds of materials. So I think you guys could handle that on your own. And then we come back, I'll quickly review that, and then we'll start outlining um, the algorithm to move blocks down. Alright guys, thanks for watching.